Would you please give Dr. Shah a warm welcome?
Good afternoon. It really is a pleasure and a privilege to be here today. Not just for Jonathan, the O'Malleys, but to really see all the people who have loved and supported them through these last almost a year, I think, since that day. When Kevin O'Malley asked me to say a few words, the first thing that came to mind was a date. And that date was August 26, 2008. And dates can mean a lot of things. It can mean birthdays, it can mean first dates, it can mean weddings. But that day to me meant the day that I got to walk into a room and change this family's life forever. I met Jonathan and his parents at 6 o'clock in the morning in Texas Children's Hospital emergency room. And they had been up all night. They were exhausted. And I got to walk in there and tell them that their son had leukemia, which was probably one of the hardest things I have to do. At the time, we didn't have a type of leukemia. I didn't know what treatment we were going to start. But I made Jonathan 3 promises that day. I don't know if he remembers. The first was any conversation I had with his family, he was included. And he could ask me any question he wanted, and I would always tell him the truth. The second was that I was going to do my best to make sure that he got better with whatever knowledge or ability I had. And if I didn't have the information, I was going to find somebody that did. And the third was that he was going to have to do an awful lot of unpleasant things that he was going to learn to hate. They were necessary, but if there were ever any times where I could give him a choice, I would. And as Jonathan has learned, I don't make promises unless I can keep them, and I hope I've kept them. At the time that I met Jonathan, he had 4 million leukemia cells per liter of blood in his body, and he was pretty sick. And I looked at his family and asked them to trust me to take care of him. And I think at that moment, Kevin O'Malley asked me if I had graduated or been old enough to have graduated college, let alone be his supervising physician for the next few weeks. Which isn't the first time, but it did help break the tension at the moment. But they did, at least I hope they did. And we took Jonathan quickly and safely through the next 24 hours. We have an amazing set of physicians, staff, nurses, pharmacy, who all worked really hard that day. Getting him to the ICU, getting him onto pheresis so that we can manually remove all these leukemia cells, getting a diagnosis by running his blood through the flow lab, getting him sedated twice, 3 times to get lines in, get spinal taps. And the O'Malley family knows when there's an emergency, we move pretty fast. We have to. But we got his diagnosis within 12 hours, and we had him on therapy within 24, and we started making an impact on that leukemia by August 27th, 2008, for which I'm eternally grateful. In the coming weeks, Jonathan's family got to know me a little bit better rather than the young doctor who was asking them to do the impossible. Had a little bit more time to understand the Greek that I was speaking to them. And more importantly, we, all of us, the physicians, the nurses, the staff on the 9th floor, got to know Jonathan. When I asked around about what words describe Jonathan, and I think many of you probably have your own words, probably some of them were maybe not appropriate for today. No, seriously, humor, laughter, jokester, compassion, patience, strength. When I think of Jonathan, there's one word that always comes to mind, and that's courage. I have seen him take on one of the biggest challenges that life has to offer and do it with more optimism, more strength, more maturity, and more courage than even some grown people that I know. And he does it with the best attitude, even when I'm asking him to do one of those things that he really hates.
Like mouthwashes.
Or staying in the hospital longer.
That too.
All of that. And he's done it graciously. And that is something that I will definitely take away with me for many, many years to come. When people ask me how I do the job that I do, isn't it hard, isn't it awful? I can't agree. There are definitely bad days. There are hard days. But there are wonderful days where I get to spend time with kids that I love, with families that are amazing, and who make me excited about getting to work every single day. Not just Jonathan, but a dozen other kids like him. Not only do they teach me things every day, some of them practical jokes, but they teach me that I need to work harder and better for them, and also maybe learn to be just as good, if not a better person. So when I say that it truly is a pleasure and a privilege to be here with Jonathan and his family and to see so many people that care about him, I really am honored to be a part of that community. So thank you very much.